Hello again. Vanakkam. Greetings to our friends in the US. Good evening to our friends in India and all over the world. So today is our fourth session covering a very, very important aspect of high life, which is truly celebrating food. So that is what we are celebrating life, and food is obviously a huge part of that celebration of life. So we're going to see what we can do in this exploration. So I have some slides I wanted to share with you. Daily fun, smiling, and gratitude. We're going to touch these topics.
Smiling and gratitude.
I'm going to request everyone to mute yourself. Our disclosures are Seeking Hunger, the book, and High Life Journey, our website. And today's discussion is the fourth meeting. We covered the role of positive psychology, well-being, the key aspects of diet, and now we are discussing how to celebrate food. So this is Liz, who came and spoke to us last week to inspire us in how to move towards our health. And she's making so many TikTok videos to try and capture the imagination of younger people who, without themselves knowing what they are dealing with, are getting themselves into health issues. When people are younger, the chances of recovering is much, much faster. Marilyn is the other end. She spoke to us the first week of our meeting, and she already is here today. And at 80, she's saying at any age, we still can regain our health. So we have both ends of that spectrum, very young people, very uh, motivated, and already dealing with health issues from the 20s. That's what Liz's story is. But when we go to this New York government website and calculate biological heart age based on very few Framingham criteria, Liz's age was surprisingly increased at 63, her heart age based on her risk profile. And within a few months, we have brought it down by 50%. So that is the real power of intuitive living. And this story I started saying last time, this much weight loss can happen within a few weeks. Somebody who weighs 255 pounds can come all the way down to 180 pounds. It's like 65-pound weight reduction in a few weeks. The only reason this happened is because the 64-year-old with advanced heart disease, lung disease, excess weight, seizure disorder, depression, and GI issues, and diabetes on several hundred units of insulin. The 64-year-old was diagnosed with heart blockages and said, tomorrow morning you need bypass surgery. He said, I've been through Chokolingam's highlight and I want to give that a shot. I went to him that evening and said, get the surgery today, my friend. Then you'll have plenty of time while recovering to embrace a better living. But he said, I'm not going to follow the surgery first. I'm just going to go home and try your method. And because it is a free world, we cannot force somebody through surgery. We had to let him go home. I did not realize on that date that he's going to not eat at all for 50 days. He had done that in his 20s, but then he chose to do it again in his 60s for religious reasons and to practice the self-inquiry that we encourage. And he has been vegan since then. He had lost so much weight, not 15, he had lost much more weight. But then, even after a year or two, his weight was stable. He had lost 15% at 5 months. So this graph we don't want to be produced again. Just this one gentleman going 50 days has taught us so much. And this is him. For him, the question of whether my life is half full or half empty did not arise on day 49 of his fast. He was in the hospital last few days because he was so weak and dehydrated that we had to give him IV fluids towards the end of his 50-day water only fast. And when we managed him, his heart was still stable at that point without any food for 50 days. He refused in this IV access any glucose. He just got some fluids. And at the end of 50 days, he broke the fast and then he started eating. And I would go and get him some healthy food options because despite whatever our hospital systems can provide, it's hard to get enough of nutritious whole food sometimes. And for him, his life itself was so overflowing with joy despite cutting off food for 50 days. So this is not anything we are asking anybody to even attempt, but we publish this in the medical literature so that doctors will know what the potential of this natural ketosis that we embrace is. So this does not require 50 days fasting. It does not even require any fasting because this is a new study saying intermittent fasting may not be a useful tool to lose weight. This is what the study is saying. But for our friend, it kept him away from needing that bypass surgery ever. His heart function got better and he did not ever need that surgery. The chest pain went away. So this is his story. And does high life mean prolonged fasting and just not eating? Is that going to be what we are trying to promote? The answer is definitely no. We'll take this example of an 82-year-old who also has balloons and stents, irregular heart beating, but most importantly, he has advanced liver disease. So he cannot fast. He has to at least eat 3 meals a day. And at that age, he's not exercising. So he also has excess weight issues. BMI is 45. That means severe obesity is BMI more than 35. He's 10 points more than that. His weight is 135 kilograms. And within a year or two in high life, he is losing nearly 30% of his weight. So that is the real power of what we are engaging in. So he had 3 meals every day and still he lost 30% of his weight. Okay. And then we wrote a paper saying insulin resistance, diabetes, how come all these problems we are able to help with our high life intuitive living methods. And the person who actually guided us in this paper is Dr. Pandian. He's an amazing clinician and he really has been thinking about this for, I don't know, 50 years. And he guided me in this publication. We are saying insulin resistance is there, but in a very small percentage of diabetics. Many of the diabetic patients can be helped and they can help themselves. That's what we are actually publishing. And this is what he is himself eating. This is Dr. Pandian, who says towards health and towards remaining fit, we don't need to be eating, we don't need to be fasting because he doesn't fast. He says frequent small meals that do not, frequent small eating makes you not hungry or tired, but gives you energy in a healthy way. Avoid eating outside food, prepare home food, and reduce oil and salt in your diet. So this is his Indian diet in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. So this is what he's actually eating all through the day because we have many people from southern India. They can connect with some of the food that you're seeing here, but this is not his snacking. This is his actual meal. If you think, can it even be possible for someone to enjoy life? He is working full time and taking care of his family and doing everything. And he is here to say hello to us. This is Dr. Pandian. He's the head of andrology and reproductive medicine at Chettinad Super Specialty Hospital. And he has so many accolades. He has done the first procedures. He started the first semen bank, one of the architects of the first IVF twins with frozen spermatozoa. He did this in the 80s and 90s. His team reported the first world report on cryopreservation of epididymal and testicular spermatozoa. He has authored numerous books, journals, and he's the editor of important journals. And he's a passionate teacher, lifelong learner, and researcher. We welcome Dr. Pandian to come and share his insights and how he is guiding us to move forward.
வணக்கம். Namaste, good morning, and good evening to everyone. I've been learning a lot from these sessions. I more or less attend all the sessions, sometimes with me while traveling also. Today, what I'm going to say is a personal experience. There is a conflict of interest because it may not apply to everybody. But nevertheless, it did work out very well for me. So all of you, please consider it. Those of you who are like Anand, seeking hunger, that's great if you can do it. Anand, I call Anand Adigala because he's like a saint now, right? He's able to teach many things and follow it. But I'm not able to seek hunger. So I went to the other extreme of never feeling hungry at all. The other alternative is eat well, but the right kind of food. What we feed, what you saw is what we eat and what we eat every day. You can change it, of course, but change within limits, within healthy food. And remember, food is the most important thing which decides your health and your sickness. Inappropriate food leads to sickness. Appropriate food leads to healthy life and also cure from sickness. The two major scourges today is diabetes and hypertension. I had them both. At 30 years, I was diagnosed with hypertension. I had a very stressful master. I was an assistant professor in a major teaching hospital with 16,000 deliveries per year. And my boss was a very stressful person. She stressed out and stressed me also. So I was diagnosed with hypertension at a BP of 150/100. I was just 30 years. So I went to a good physician, a good cardiologist. He said, he listened to me, counseled me and said, he knew me very well. He said, look, it's a stress, you know that very well. So start meditating. That's the time I started meditating. And today my BP is 110/70 with no drugs. I've never been on any drug at all. He said, don't go on drugs, you're only 30. And all of you know, there is no safe drug. If you believe there's a safe drug, then you're imagining it. All drugs come with side effects. Some of them are tolerable, some of them are intolerable. The best way to be healthy is not to take any drug if possible. I'm not saying do not stop medicine at all without your physician's consultation, but if you can control any condition without drugs, that's the best way to do it. And the best way is food. There is a clear guideline called DASH. All of you are familiar by now. Dietary adjustments to stop hypertension. So it is possible. I did only that and meditation, and my hypertension is under control. I would say cured because I have not had hypertension after those initial few years. Talking about diabetes, in 2010, my mother passed away. I had a severely painful condition called calcaneal bursitis. I was immobilized. And in my family, nobody has hypertension, not my parents, not my grandparents, not my brothers. Yet I developed diabetes. 3 famous diabetologists told me, go on drugs. Go on drugs, you also practice lifestyle. But as I told you, and though I'm a doctor and I practice high-tech medicine, I'm very wary about using drugs unless absolutely necessary. So I said, let me try lifestyle. That's when we started into radical lifestyle changes. Radical, I don't mean you are starving, no. You eat well, eat the right kind of food like what you saw now. So we went on to food and found my blood pressure is under control, my diabetes under control. I lost weight from 81 kilos to 69 kilos. I'm never hungry, but yet I don't eat no junk food at all, no processed food at all. One word about processed food. The problem with processed food is, as you all know, it stands. It came as an invention for people in high altitudes, or people going mountaineering, can't carry food, can't cook food. People, astronauts, they obviously cannot cook food. So then it slowly extended to everybody because after all, it's a commercial venture. They have to sell more. So it's a very convenient food, it's a comfort food. Now everybody is hooked onto processed food. A very simple logic, I'll tell you, a processed food will not get spoiled, which means no organism, microbe can grow on it. And remember, we are just 37 trillion microbes together. We have 37 trillion cells. Cells form tissues, tissues form organs, organs form systems, and systems form the human body. So if it cannot sustain a microbe, the food which you are putting inside your mouth, it cannot sustain a microbe, how is it going to sustain you? A processed food has a lot of chemicals which prevent an organism from growing in it, microbe. So if we cannot allow that to grow, how is it going to sustain your 37 trillion cells? So please reconsider. Best to eat whole food, natural fruit, plant-based if possible, unprocessed. This is what I would recommend. It has done me well. I'm not on any drugs. I'm 70, not on any drugs as of now. I may develop health problem tomorrow, but leading a healthy life is a duty to yourself and to your family. So I wish you all good life, good healthy life. And I thank Anand immensely for giving me this opportunity to share with you this enlightened audience. And let me finish by saying that good food, good sleep, satiety. Satiety is satisfaction with, seek more, but at the same time, don't feel frustrated about it. That's the way to healthy life. Thank you. Good day.
Amazing. So you said this started at 30. You look like you're only 35. So you have to tell us how many years you have been practicing this way of life.
Well, 2000 is the time I started going on to avoiding highly refined food. The last 10 years, I'm more or less a vegan completely. I've stopped dairy also. And this, what you saw, what picture Anand showed me for the last nearly 10 years, that we eat this kind of food all the time. So I really feel healthy. I sleep when I hit the bed, I sleep within a short time. Another important thing is start your worry. Satiety is very important, I told you. Stop worrying. You can't stop the Ukraine war. You're not, unless you are in the battlefield. These are many things we worry ourselves. Go to bed with a very peaceful mind. Wake up as gratitude, as Anand says, gratitude. Be grateful that you got up today morning. When you go to bed and when you wake up, be grateful. And I don't think you will have any problem with health at all. Worry is another issue. Stress is an important issue. Stress is both physical and mental. Avoid both. Physical is all your pollution, your body weight, everything. Mental is what you create. No matter how, under very difficult circumstances, you can still be stress-free. That is the way I feel for healthy life. Thank you.
Amazing. That paper that I showed Dr. Pandian guided us on insulin resistance was last year. This year, we have published just last week a paper saying the word type 2 diabetes itself is misleading as a medical problem, whereas Dr. Pandian guided me in saying that it is more a behavior and lifestyle challenge. And that paper is also controversial, but it says, or it gives the responsibility back to the individual. See, like Dr. Pandian himself at the age of 30, since decades ago, he was diagnosed with diabetes, but he's not on medicines because his numbers are excellent. So he's taken up that lifestyle and he is guiding me in thinking about diabetes in a different way. Otherwise, as a cardiologist, we don't focus that much on certain diseases. We have enough to worry about the heart itself. And then this last year, we published on orthostatic hypertension. What that means is on standing up, people's blood pressure goes up. Especially we see that in heavy people. And that again is, that research is leading me to recognize that excess weight is the problem in many of the people with hypertension. We are not talking 5, 10, we are talking 75% of all hypertension in the world is related to excess weight in the body. Dr. Pandian will talk for 1 hour about how to measure that weight. BMI is not the best thing. He has so much he wants to share with you, but I'll open it up for questions that you can ask Dr. Pandian directly. You'll have to unmute yourself. If some people wish to put it in the chat, I can read it out also. But if you wish to unmute and talk to Dr. Pandian, he's here for another couple of minutes. He has another meeting soon.
I have a question. He had a 3-point, good food, good sleep, and what was the other one? I didn't understand. that.
Satiety, satisfaction.
Oh, that's right.
Satiety.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other quick questions?
Hi, I have a question for Dr. Pandian.
Yes, please.
I have breakfast with muesli cereal, muesli,
Yeah.
that is processed.
Okay, yeah.
Is that healthy or unhealthy?
Well, see, the choice is better than a highly processed carbohydrate, but it's not the best. Any process, that simple logic is if it comes in a package, which been processed and kept for a longer time, shelf life, it is not the best thing to do. But it's certainly better than a highly refined carbohydrate. Highly refined carbohydrate, all of them are going to be increasing your glucose load, glycemic load, and cause problem. So the choice is lesser of the problem. It's not, I would recommend going for fruits, nuts. If it's not possible, next best would be muesli and not all those highly refined food. I don't want to name it because it becomes very controversial. Naming is best to avoid highly processed carbohydrate.
Thank you.
Am I making things clear?
Yes, thank you. So
Okay.
nuts and fruits is okay for breakfast.
Yes, that's best. Fruits and nuts are very good because even though they contain carbohydrate, they are a healthy carbohydrate. Fruits, nuts, vegetables is all that we take all the 3 times, and they are healthy. And there is no way you can overeat. One simple example is no animal is obese in the wild. You can never see an obese animal because food is available in plenty in the forest. But still they don't, because they eat to hunger. I mean, a lot of things what you heard in the class high life is you eat for hunger. Don't eat for social excitation. Don't eat for fun. Don't eat for taste. Eat for hunger. If you're hungry, and eat slowly. If you're going to eat fast food fast, before you even realize that you had hunger satisfied, you're going to be overeating. So eat slowly, enjoy your food, set aside some time for eating. Then you will not overeat at all, and eat fruits, vegetables, nuts. Any amount is not going to make you put on weight because they are a lot of fiber. Your stomach will get filled up. Once you start feeling full, and as rightly said in these classes, half full or 3/4 full, not full to the full brim, but take a lot of water, that will also fill you up.
Thank you.
What about
Thank you.
fruits in diabetics? Do you avoid certain fruits, sir?
No, I don't think so. I mean, even the fruits which we think are high glycemic, they're not going to come with fiber. So they're not going to be absorbed like any of your sugar. Sugar is a poison. Again, I don't want to be sued for this statement. Sugar is certainly not a health. It's not an essential food at all. We develop taste for it, and then we get sick to it. But the same taste you can have with natural sugars. I'm talking about artificial sugars. I'm talking about highly processed sugars. All fruits have sugars. In fact, even some vegetables have. But the fact is, they come with fiber, and fiber will delay the absorption, and therefore your glycemic spike will not happen. So I think fruits are safe for children, and of course, anything in moderation, not in excess.
So just to confirm,
Yeah.
you're saying that muesli is a processed food, but not as
Yes,
harmful as the others. What is the harm of muesli?
No. See, the processing, you just read the content. Usually, if it only contains muesli and no, they add permitted chemicals added. Or this is what happens all over the world. I looked at the label, you find permitted chemicals. What are those permitted chemicals? Simple logic is, what happens when you process the food? You prevent the food from getting spoiled. And what is food spoilage? Spoilage is microbe growing the food, is a food spoilage. So if you're going to prevent it, you're adding something to prevent it. That means the microbes cannot grow with the food. If microbes cannot survive, how is it going to sustain you? You're going to take that food inside. So this is where I feel it is not the best choice. But if it is, it's certainly better than highly processed food, undoubtedly. So let me put a very simple example. Anything which goes inside your mouth, food and water or beverage, anything which comes out of your mouth, what you say and what you write, definitely affect your health. There's no doubt at all. And every food matters, every mouthful matters. That is why we have to be very careful about what we eat. And our choice is often lesser of the evil. I mean, you are traveling, you don't have a choice of cooking food there. So you have to eat what is less processed. That is why I say, if possible, unprocessed, but that's not possible, less processed. Avoid ultra-processed food, which comes in a package if possible.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dr. Dattarian,
I'm not sure how to say your last name. I use a protein drink, which I'm sure is processed highly, no doubt, in the morning. And I have switched now to plant protein. What's the best plant protein and how do I get enough protein to maintain my protein level, which runs about 8?
Dals, DHEAL, all dals have a lot of proteins. Dal, tur dal, all kind of dals, they have a lot of protein. That's the best way to get your protein from plant-based.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doctor, I have hypertension and my weight is good. I eat well and I meditate, not well. I have a lot of monkey mind going on. And I'm wondering if you have any suggestions for me.
Well, I would think that you're doing the right thing. You're eating, you're meditating. And meditation takes practice. When you start meditating, you get mind gets distracted in a few minutes, then later on, you develop it further. But after some time, it gets. Another thing is have fresh air, walking, exercise is important. And of course, weight loss definitely helps by not starvation. Avoid processed food. These are just gentle guidelines. So specifically, if your blood pressure is something, you have to measure it periodically to make sure your blood pressure is coming under control. But beyond that, I really can't give you medical advice on that because I do not know what drug you are. And you have to be very careful about stopping drugs without a medical supervision. It's not safe at all. But generally, meditation, proper food. In fact, the first recommendation is dietary adjustment to stop hypertension. You follow that. That's a published medical literature with your physician's opinion. You should be able to tolerate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much, sir, for bringing these valuable insights and telling us that high life is not about fasting or being hungry. It's about celebrating life, which you've done and you've inspired us to do and guiding us all along. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. I have to go for another. Excuse me. Bye, Anand. Bye, everybody.
Are you able to see my slides? I'm hoping you're able to see my slide. Yes?
Yeah, we can see it.
Excellent. Full screen. Okay. So next we are going to talk about healthy life expectancy or health span. I'm sorry for the spelling error there. What this healthy life expectancy means is how much of our life we are spending in good health without chronic diseases. That is the key thing. India is at 59 years, you can expect to be healthy. In the US, it is 69 years. Singapore is at 76 years. And there are blue zones. Today, we won't go into too much detail about that, where people live over 90 years of healthy life. Again, I'm going to request everyone to mute yourself. So this is the big thing that is ongoing. In the US, total national health expense as a percentage of the entire US GDP, it is only going up from about 6% all the way to 20% in 2020. So we are spending a fifth of our entire wealth towards regaining our health back. And if you look at other countries which are also affluent, the average expense among the affluent nation is about $5,000, whereas we are more than twice that expense. Some may think, okay, US is a powerful, rich country, so that's why it's spending more money on health. It's actually the other way around. We are not that healthy compared to other Western European countries like Switzerland, Germany, Sweden, Netherlands, Australia, Japan. Because we are not that healthy, we are spending more. That's the truth. And then for the money that we are spending, are we improving life expectancy? Again, compared to some of the other countries that are getting better health and better life expectancy, US life expectancy is actually not gaining that much despite us spending more and more money at this $12,000 on average. And then when we compare the excess weight in the population, what we are seeing is US has more excess weight than any other country in the entire Western world. There may be a few countries here and there that match this. India overall is about 5 to 10%, I think. But the challenge in the cities, big cities of India, all the 20 big cities in India, obesity is already at 30%. So that is the big challenge. A developing country in economic transition like India is already facing. In the last few decades, this is what has happened. From less than 10%, we are marching towards half of the entire US adult population being obese. This is not overweight. Normal weight is 25 BMI. So obesity means more than 30 BMI. There's still a lot of people. So close to 75 to 80% of the entire US population has excess weight. But obesity diagnosis as a medical problem is going to be reached by 50% of the entire US population. So in 2019, in India, we are spending about $23 billion on weight-related problems. And in the next 30 years, that is going to increase nearly 20-fold. We're going to be spending close to $450 billion just to manage weight-related health issues. India is going to be weighed down enormously by excess weight-related issues. And Dr. Pandian, who's been practicing now for several decades himself, so many decades he has managed his blood pressure and diabetes without any medicines, and he's doing so well. He travels across the world lecturing, and he gave us the origin of these ultra-processed foods just to support us during hiking in the mountain, or if we are going to the moon for a visit. That's how these processed foods came about. And these are the real challenges that it has left us with. Chronic diseases. Many people, 80% have one chronic disease, majority have two or more, and these are the biggest chronic diseases. Blood pressure, cholesterol, arthritis, heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, heart failure, depression, Alzheimer's, and lung disease. So these are the biggest chronic diseases. And why I list this here is because 90% of the US healthcare expense is towards managing non-communicable chronic conditions. 90%. So this is a huge expense for the US. And about half of that goes towards managing weight-related secondary problems. So weight is the hidden issue affecting so many of our people. And then we talked about countries and per capita, but now we come down to the individual level. If we have excellent health, we are paying $2,000 for health expense. Whereas if the health is only okay, we are paying 7,000. And if we have poor health, which means we have chronic conditions, we end up paying so much more, several fold more, 10 times more compared to good health. So there is, if you ask me, is there any monetary value? You can save so much money per year, per person. And this is not just money, it's also the ability to experience life better. This is a person in her 60s who I got to see in March of 2021. She had 3 cardiologists already, and we published her story. 15 times these arrows point towards her being in the hospital, not able to breathe because of her heart failing and lungs flooding and kidneys not working well. 15 times within 1 year. And once she learned our intuitive eating methods, in the last nearly 2 years, she has not come back into the hospital even once. So our program is simple, intuitive, complementary, but it has enormous health benefits for people taking it up. This gentleman, we haven't even published his story. He felt like nearly 55 years of age, 57, he says, when he weighed 240 kilograms. Within a year, he weighs less than 50%, 110 kilograms. And his cardiologist called me, Anand, he is on a high life virtual. I didn't even see him. But because he saw these videos from last year, he has lost this much weight in viewing those videos. So you are helping me create the knowledge to support so many thousands of people. Even after our sessions go offline, these videos will help, I hope, many, many more people down the months and years ahead. So his heart squeeze, normal squeeze is only 55 to 60%. That's the normal heart squeeze. For him, it was down at 25%. And his pressure inside the lungs went up so high. This is not hypertension. This is called pulmonary hypertension. For that, it's not easy to treat it. And within a few months of being in our program, his heart function started recovering. And at 1 year, it's completely normalized. And his cardiologist is asking me, should I ask him to discontinue high life? And the question I asked his cardiologist is your patient feeling good? And the answer was from 57, he's feeling like a 20-year-old. So that was reassurance that he can continue in high life because he's still 110 kilos. 110 kilos is not yet normal weight for his height. So there is still some more we can benefit him through eating healthy. And you may ask, is it safe to lose this much weight? It is safe because we know that from gastric bypass, metabolic weight loss surgery procedures that we have done now for several decades and help people come off the extra weight in their body. Only thing, without that surgery, numerous, I would say thousands of patients are achieving this in India, in UK, in the US, and Canada with our program. And it is just as good as gastric bypass as far as weight reduction is concerned, but several fold safer because it is done through gratitude and smiling and not through an invasive surgery, which carries some risk. So this is the food that we call processed, and we have to be careful how much of this we put in. So even salt and sugar, which is something you have to be really careful about because that increases risk for metabolic problems. Deep frying things and adding whatever we think is tasty, we have to be careful. So this is a concept called flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi in 1975. He wrote a beautiful book that has created the field 25 years later in 2000 called positive psychology. So he is the father of this concept of flow. And what it describes is how to be connected with ourselves, free of self-consciousness, living life happily, intensively. So when we talked about celebrating food, this is what we are going to continue to use and explore over the next few weeks. And this concept Mihai Csikszentmihalyi described with people who are creating music or playing tennis in the 1960s and 70s. When he did this research, this is the two core groups that he took: music writers and tennis players. And I love to play tennis. So I will say my skill level is somewhere in the middle. You met Dr. Pandian. I think he does not play tennis. So if I were to play tennis with him, the challenge or difficulty that I'll face is very little. So I'll be bored playing tennis with Dr. Pandian because I've been playing this for 40 years and he hasn't. But if I were to play with, say, Roger Federer, my skill is still the same. It's right about here, 50%. But his skill is 100%. He's the best in the world. So my difficulty is suddenly so much higher. And what will I be left with? I'll be too self-conscious. I will not even perform to the usual level that I performed so long. So I'll be left with anxiety and performing below my potential because my mind also will weigh down on the extreme difficulty that I'm facing. What if I was to play tennis with somebody who's my age and my skill level? There is a chance, 1 in 10 times, not all the time. 1 in 10 times, if I give my best effort, I might enter into flow. That's what this book is all about. And it is beyond our logical mind that I might, when I'm playing in this level, outperform my best expectation. So it becomes a prayer. Tennis can be a prayer, just like any activity can. You don't have to become suddenly tennis players. Doing dishes at home, mopping our floor, doing chores, doing laundry, whatever we have to do on an everyday basis can be flow inducing. So that is the real inner journey. So today we started asking the question, what are we doing outside the box? Last week we brought a grape, and before we finished the session, I forgot to have it. So today my invitation to all of you is to think of little things. Like if it starts drizzling outside and you're done with your day's chores, and if you have some simple clothes and it's not too cold or uh, thundering outside, you might be able to step out and relax in the rain for a few minutes. It's okay to come home drenched and then you can shower and go on with the rest of your day. So this is something even heart patients we have been encouraging when we do these highlight sessions one-on-one. On Zoom, we haven't been practicing it. There are 1,000 things I can ask you to do. Just listening to the birds outside. There's a thing called Shinrin Yoku, which means going outside and deliberately sitting beside a tree. How is that tree going to help you? The tree has been there for several hundred years, and we are connected to nature in more ways than we logically can understand. So just being beside a tree for 10 minutes, we are not talking about running in the woods, just sitting down next to nature, listening to the sounds and feeling the sensations and experiencing the wind around that tree is meditation in itself. That nature bathing is a Japanese system of connecting with the nature around us. So all these things, there are 1,000 ways that we can experience life in a slightly more connected way. I want you to all to try this before you come back next week. And maybe we can ask everyone to put something in the chat next week, what we are going to do over the next 5 to 6 days before we meet again. And then connect with the deeper nature of yourself. So this we will spend more time next time, how to understand this flow, but we've used this to help people cope with mental health, anxiety, depression, PTSD. And as veterans who are dealing with heart disease, it's not easy to overcome that until we directly address their mental health also. And there are new studies. We've been doing this in self-inquiry and flow for 15 years. But last year, there is a study saying 1 or 2 episodes when a person can enter into flow in a whole year reduce the chance of having an episode of depression or PTSD throughout the whole year. And science is not yet able to explain the power of this positive psychology in overcoming our mental health challenges. Whereas our friends and patients have been experiencing the benefits of this. Veterans with PTSD, heart patients with anxiety, and Marilyn Lake, we met, she had depression from the age of 20. She's here today. So this is how our system helps overcome these challenges. And when this flow really becomes who we are at a very profound and deeper level, then the magic only becomes our inner nature. So for that, we invite us to connect with food using hunger and gratitude alone. So the gratitude is the skill we bring to the table. Hunger is the challenge that I want you to explore. And that will directly allow you to enter into flow where you can experience deeper consciousness and connectivity with the entire life. For that, gratitude, the traditional Tamil wisdom through Tirukkural and Siddhar way of higher consciousness invites us towards gratitude using Nandri Marappadu Nandrandu, Nandralladu Andre Marappadu Nandru. Be as grateful as you can be for everything in the moment. Forgive everybody for whatever mistakes they might have done to you today, in the moment. That's what this Quran says. அற்றதறிந்து கடைபிடித்து மாறல்ல தூய்க்க துவர பசித்து. Understand what food goes well for you. Look at that. Look at your own inner energy levels when you eat. And don't eat until you are genuinely hungry. That is what this is. So gratitude, hunger, and for being in flow. This was published in 1975 by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. But 2000 years ago, ஒளி ஒருவருக்குள்ள வெறுக்கை இலி ஒருவருக்கு பிறந்து வாழுதுமனை. If you think you can live life without zest and ecstasy and happiness and overflowing joy, that itself means you've not understood the true meaning of it. It's a shame on you to think life can be lived without that much depth and passion. So this is the flow that Valluvar invites us to engage in our everyday living. And this Marilyn Lake is the best example of 80, how people can experience So this we have also published, saying using hunger and gratitude, we have got our cardiac patients to enter into flow and sustain that through higher consciousness, and that we call Uvagai. We may get a chance to spend more time on this Uvagai. Uvagai means extreme happiness, and it does not require any logical foundation. So this goes deeper than our critical thinking and logical mind. So I'm going to talk 1 minute about these things. To reduce cholesterol, to reduce inflammation, certain foods Dr. Pandian emphasized are processed meat, organ meat, red meat, and refined carbohydrates, cookies, donuts, ice cream, and the sweetened beverages that have added sugar in them. These are the things that we need to cut back. The things that really are nutritious and we can have as much as we want ends up being vegetable, salads, green, yellow, and then fruits. Multigrain bread, brown rice, quinoa, those things are okay. And this is not intermittent fasting. We get a lot of benefits for heart disease and diabetes and other things. And we can get 20-30% calorie restriction and live 100 years with intermittent fasting. But the challenge with that is a lifestyle choice. And people forget about these things within a few months. But in hunger gratitude, the meditation that we teach at High Life, people just don't seem to forget any of these things. They just seem to internalize it and it becomes who they are. So in that sense, it's got all the benefits of intermittent fasting, calorie restriction, anti-inflammatory, DASH diet, and so much more, because they are able to connect with their creativity, happiness, and passion, and build intuitive optimism and confidence. Here, hunger is looked upon as a sign of health, and we accept it gratefully. We are able to achieve deeper calorie restriction for people who are dealing with excess weight in their body. And living 100 years is so easy with our High Life, but even more important emphasis is placed on feeling alive in the moment. So lifestyle and diet, all these things can give 5 to 6% weight reduction that is sustained only for 6 months to 1 year. Whereas there are some diet pills which might sustain up to 20%. Now the latest evidence is 20% weight reduction is possible, and this is all very new pills. We don't know their long-term benefit in heart patients, and the cost of it may be expensive for many people. Surgery is invasive, but it can sustain about 15 to 20% weight reduction. Whereas in High Life, we have reported 20-25% weight reduction. And we have so many people exceeding 40, 50, 60% weight reduction. So this is where we feel that individuals' confidence goes up so high that they are able to intuitively move towards becoming healthy once again. So High Life is about positivity and mindfulness, anti-inflammatory diet, self-inquiry using hunger and gratitude, and exercises where we engage flow. And to engage flow in our diet, we use the hunger and gratitude, and finding purpose and meaning in life. All these things are so simple in High Life. These are not steps that people take. We only ask people to smile and connect with us in these programs. And instead of suffering from the age of 30 or 40 for all our life, we can live healthy like super athletes all through life until our time. So this is what we are now moving towards, how to routinely start measuring the heart's age with available tools. And we have some better tools also for it. We'll talk some more about it. This is a slide I got from a neurologist who was talking about recreating the brain. Typically, we are taught brain cells and heart cells don't regrow. If we lose them, and that's it. But neuroscientist Sandrine says it's not the case. By performing certain routines, we might be able to regenerate new brain cells throughout life. And she says 700 neurons, we can have them come back every day by certain foods. And two of the biggest things you're seeing here is calorie restriction and intermittent fasting. Okay, this is from her slide. We'll stop for today. We are at the halfway mark. It's already 10 o'clock. So any quick questions? 2 to 5 minutes?
Yes, I'm wondering if you could repost the link to the Zoom meetings we missed. I had to go in and out last week and didn't quite hear everything.
Yes, it's already at a High Life Journey, and you can find it there. I think I haven't gone back in there to check, but I think the most recent 3 weeks are already there. But if you email me, I can send links also until last.
Thank you.
Hi, I have one question. We talked about the processed muesli cereal. What about porridge, which is coming as a processed food, but we mix water and milk into it?
Yes.
How is that also not desirable?
No. See, ultimately, even unprocessed foods, we have to get in packages only. We are not farming ourselves to go and get it fresh off the farm and eat. So that there are so many layers to it. So if we can get it lesser and lesser processed, more natural, we'll be better off. That's all we are.
Okay, thank you.
People who haven't spoken
Dr.
yet, quick
Kalingam.
questions?
Yeah, Dr. Chokalingam. Just a quick question. You must have said it, which I might have missed. What does huge SI stands for? SI stands for self-investigation. What is HUGE? Is it an acronym or is it?
Let me go back to that slide.
Yeah, just
So,
one. Yeah, yeah, no, yeah.
self-inquiry. The huge is hunger. HU is for hunger. G is for gratitude and experience of life. So this is what we coined as a way of with the mind or consciousness through very simple tools. So this is what Buddha himself did. He is only 2000 years old, Buddha. So this system has been there for 5 to 10,000 years towards understanding ourselves at a deeper level through self-inquiry. And for that, to wake up the inner consciousness for 5 to 10,000 years, we have used this hunger and gratitude. But now in the Western world where I practice in USA, I just call it hunger gratitude, but it's an experience of life from a very direct level. And for that, we use this we just published. So this is also publication out of hunger and gratitude. Gratitude being the skill that we take to the occasion. And the challenge that we are facing is being a little more hungry every time. So just with this hunger and gratitude, without learning tennis or without becoming music writers, anybody at any age can explore deeper consciousness that is well beyond the logical and critical thinking process. So this is where I feel there is so much excitement. And what I'm showing you here is the mental health challenges that the whole world faces. Most challenges are now felt by children. And for that, we feel once people connect with themselves, the ability to overcome not only excess weight or diabetes or hypertension, even the stress levels and anxiety that people face and PTSD and adverse childhood experiences, so much that we see every day, we can become resilient towards overcoming using our simple tools. So that is what is hunger gratitude. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry to ask again. There were 5 you mentioned: anti-inflammation foods, mindfulness, huge SI, flow activities, and what are the other one, please?